I'm Megan.
I'm Emerald.
And we are both journalism majors at the University of Missouri, and we are interested in bringing humanity back into journalism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to make some argument that it's not there, or that it, yeah.
Okay, well we both have blogs right now that focus on people. Not very often do we as journalists get to just sit down and be like, tell me your favorite story, and then talk to them about it.
I realize that the one thing I do like about it is that you're telling somebody else's story, and I like it because I think it's necessary for politics. You need good journalism for politics. But other than that, like, sometimes the news just seems so boring. And, like, why are you telling me this? I don't know. Like, yeah. I guess I like it whenever there's more humanity or, like, someone's actual story that's being come across.
You know, in news, it's so often that we just have, like, 30 seconds of a story. We don't really get into it. And whether it's talking about a person or an issue, you know, we don't, like, get into it. And you don't really get a conclusion. And you also don't... I don't think those 30-second videos or stories or whatever, I don't think they tell the audience everything they need to know.
Yeah.
And so I think that podcasts and...
it's more of a discussion.
Yeah.
And I like the whole idea of journalism being a discussion with the public and, like, with people, as opposed to journalism being an entity and then there being a public. I like the idea of it just being, like, the public all talking about something. Or, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see that, and, like, maybe, like, facilitated by a journalist, sort of, for the fact-checking purposes, and to make sure everything that's being said is real. I started the blog that I did because I wanted people to tell me their stories, and I didn't really want to have to fact-check them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not, like, because I'm lazy, but because I wanted it to be, like, I want them to tell me their story, like, unfettered, you know, not have any, like, well, is that really true? You know what I mean? Like, I want people to tell the stories the way that they think it should be told, because I think that's something that we miss out on as journalists sometimes, is that, I don't know, I think that there are a lot of times where people who have their stories told in journalism get upset because it wasn't told the right way.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a tough balance between making sure that everything is correct and the things that you're putting out to the public are not false, but also making sure that you're staying true to the story.
True, because I think that truth is fluid a lot of the times, and I don't know, everyone has their own version of the truth, and it's up to us to figure out what is true.
Yeah, I mean, it is the same thing, just like how your perceptions are, and so it's like really what is true.
Yeah.
And how do you tell a story with keeping the story, what's the word I want to use here? Like, how do you keep, like, the sanctity of, like, the story that someone's told you, by, well, making sure that it's true, even though it might be true in their perception, and then, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big topic, that we've stumbled on something, like, pretty big here that we're not going to be able to solve in the next 20 minutes. We talk a lot about making sure that every side that needs to be represented in a story is represented. But we also recognize a lot, and I'm talking in experience from talking with editors, talking with other students, talking in classes. We also, as journalists, recognize that some sides of stories, like, don't need to be included. Not that they don't.
Yes.
Not that they don't deserve representation, but they don't always need to be included. Like, I think, like, a good example is, like, the anti-climate change side.
Yes.
Like, that is a side that, like, no longer needs to be represented.
Yes.
In stories, you know, and so there are some sides like that we just, like, we recognize, like, it's just, you don't need to have that.
I completely agree with that. And I remember in J2000, there was this story about the young woman who was hit by a bus or something. I don't know if you remember this. But basically, it was a racial issue. There was a lot of things in place about the bus routes, the community, why this even happened. It was a racial issue. And people, African-American community were saying, this is a racial issue that has to do with us. And the story was, like, half and half that, with white people being like, I don't see why it's a racial issue. And, like, why is that included, is my opinion. like, maybe include it a little bit, but I think that sometimes people try and be fair and they'll have like 50-50, but like, you don't even need to entertain, in my opinion, the side that is saying, the side that is not experiencing what the story's about. Like racism, ask people who have experienced it. Feminism, ask people who have experienced like being a woman.
Right.
I don't know.
How do you, and especially in stories where you don't have a scientific factor, because I think that's like those kind of stories are the times where you can like most confidently say like, this side just isn't, that's not a thing that we can include, that's just not true, you know?
Yeah.
But then in stories that don't have a scientific thing, where it's mostly human emotions, it's a lot harder to be like, well, your side just doesn't matter, it's just not true, you know?
Climate change does have science, so can we please move on?
So, yeah, so it's just like, it's a hard place to decide, and that's why I think we have trouble as journalists trying to decide when it's okay for us to, sort of, okay, how do I want to phrase this? When it's an okay issue for us to be like, this is what it is, and when it's more ambiguous and we need to say, here are the two sides, you decide for yourself. We can't say one way or the other, whether or not something happened, whether or not this was racism, whether or not this was abuse, whatever it is that, you know, you're talking about. You know, so that's the line that we have to draw as journalists. Like, where can we come to an audience and say, we've done our research and this is the truth? This is like the one truth in this story, and where is it when you need to say, we don't know what the truth is, we can't tell you that, here are the sides you need to choose for yourself.
Yeah, because sometimes I think that you do need to say the truth.
Right, like it's irresponsible for us to constantly say 50-50.
Like if you say 97% of scientists think that climate change has to do with humanity, and then but 3% don't. You decide.
Right.
It's like...
Right. It's like unsafe, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's kind of like the thing with the vaccines. It's like...
Yeah, the vaccination thing.
Yeah. Like, it's irresponsible for you to be like, well, some people don't really believe in it, and here's why some of their points are valid. Like, just like, that seems very irresponsible to me.
Yeah, and that's so hard to say. And then people are going to call you biased or whatever.
Right.
If you say journalistically there is no link to autism and vaccination. Like, I mean, I'm sure some people do say that. They'll be like, this research says this, but there's also an anti-vaccination movement that believes that it's linked to autism. Like, they'll say that. And I think that the more you say that, the more their ideas are getting out there. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, the whole idea of vaccinations being linked to autism, the more we talk about it, the more people are going to, like, think it's real and hold it as a truth.
Right. But then it's like, where are we to say, because sometimes things come up like that where the mainstream says that's not real, and later it turns out to be true. I'm not saying the vaccination thing is, but there have been things like that in the past. I can't think of a good example right now, but...
like, I don't know, like, the earth being round or something like that.
Yeah,
you know, like, when people come up with crazy ideas like that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, anything that's been revolutionary, even just, like, civil rights movement.
Evolution.
Anything. There's a ton of stuff where it's just, like, that's not the popular idea, but, like, over time it turns out to be true. So it's like, well, who are we to be like, we're not going to let that be in the conversation?
Yeah.
You know, so where's the line between being responsible and not let things that really just, like, should not be out, and, you know what I mean, that, like, people shouldn't be promoting, to making sure that, you know, everyone's voice is heard, and it's, you know what I mean, so to further the conversation. So then maybe here's what I'm thinking as, like, kind of a conclusion. Maybe it is our job still to be like, there's this growing anti-vaccination movement, but then allow that to not open the door to be like, well, let's look more into this, whether is anti-vaccination, you know, a good thing, like, should we stop giving our children vaccinations, but, like, open the door more for scientists to come in and be like, no, here are the facts, here's why it's, like, you need to be vaccinating your children, you know, and open the door, so not only is it, like, not completely squashing the theory so that if some
as opposed to silencing the theory, you can squash it with facts.
right,
We're
right.
dealing facts. That's it.
Right.
Dealing facts here at the Missouri School of Journalism.
It's true.
Amy.
So so maybe that's it. So maybe our job is not to is to provide both sides a forum, a place for both sides to come up, as long as we can like fact check enough what they're saying. And then allow other people to come in and provide facts for you so that, and you don't have to be like, well, there you have it, folks, vaccinate your children. But, like, just have so that you can open it so that other people can come and be like, well, really, Or
if you wanted to be like, this is what will happen if you don't vaccinate your children. Science. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good way to end it?
Yeah. Okay, I think so. Do you agree? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So journalism is public forum.
It is.
Journalism 101. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks guys. I'm Emerald.
And I'm Megan.
And my blog is the Untitled People Project. It's at untitledpeopleproject.wordpress.com.
And mine is Project Interconnection. WordPress.com. I'll link you to it.
Thanks, guys.